back, friends, to TV5 News at 9. Joining us this morning is Brian Waldron. He's the president and CEO of Dordt Financial Credit Union. Thank you so much, Brian, for being here. It's a real honor and a treat to have you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Of course. We're so delighted you're here. So, Brian, many families, as we all know, they're getting ready for their kids to go to college. And today we're going to be talking about what you need to know when it comes to banking. So what should parents or students do if their bank does not have a branch near their college? That's a dilemma.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is, I would like to let everyone know that I just had a child finish his freshman year of college, so this is all very fresh and real to me as well. Yeah. But that's a great question, and I think the first thing that everyone needs to do, to be honest with you, as you prepare to take your kids to college, is just take a deep breath. And then we can kind of figure out this banking thing. So to answer that question specifically, though, when you go to college and there's not a bank branch there or a credit union branch there that you've been used to, keep in mind that most credit unions and banks have cooperative ATMs with other institutions. For example, as a credit union, we have ATMs nationwide that we can give access to with an ATM card or debit card to members to withdraw cash from. So my bet is that most places will have an ATM available for your student.
That's great. Well, congratulations, your son finishing up his first year. That's a big, big deal. I love it. So, Brian,
yep, we made it.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome. So, Brian, how does a student pay tuition, rent, or other really big ticket items? Do they need a checking account, would you say?
Yeah, I think a checking account is a great idea for any student. So, for here at Dordt Financial, we have a student checking account or, teen checking account where we can sign the children up, even at a younger age, so they get used to using a debit card, even writing checks if you need them to. But I think having that checking account available for your student to write the check from is very important. Most colleges now are set up to take debit cards, but do be careful. Sometimes when you use a card, there's an extra fee associated with that. And so I would never encourage anyone to use their debit card and pay a fee, a small percentage. It's usually 1 to 2% on top of the amount, which can be very expensive when it comes to tuition to pay that bill. So I think having a checking account available in order to write that check or come in and get a cashier's check and send it to the university or college is really, really important.
That's great. Great tips. Okay, Brian, thinking back to my U of M college days, this next question is very, very important. Are there ways to help students manage their money and avoid overspending?
I think there's always ways. I think the really important thing for this is to get the student involved early and start talking about money. I grew up in a household where we didn't really talk about money a lot. I didn't know how to really use a checking account or use a debit card when it came to that time. And so I kind of learned that on my own. I think what the lesson I learned is with my children is I've set them up early with accounts. We've kind of walked through the process of what a checking account is, what a debit card is, even what a credit card is. And we've set our children up so that they understand those nuances before they go off to school. And I think that's really important. It's never too late to start that process, even if you're really close to that, time where the students are leaving for the university or college. Start now. Get them involved and have those tough, hard conversations about what is an NSF fee or non-sufficient funds fee. What happens if you overdraft your account? If you're not comfortable with having that conversation, then I really suggest that you contact your local credit union or bank and have one of their MSRs sit down with the student and kind of walk through those processes. It's really, really important that they understand what happens in that thing, and, as we kind of go along and spend money.
Oh, that's great advice. Great tip there, Brian. Okay, so what's the easiest way for parents to keep tabs on their students' spending? I'm one of those parents. I like to double check things.
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's a couple of ways to do this. So here at the credit union, you can be joint on the account, but some students don't really want that. The other thing, too, is, and I'm going to give you some tips that I learned just along the way. It depends on where your child's going to school, but my child is actually about 9 hours away from me when he goes to school. And so we thought it was really important to have power of attorney set up in case that's ever needed. So we sat down and created those documents together. We also, a hard lesson learned, I don't want to scare anyone here, but back when a while ago, I had a neighbor who had a child in college, and he was involved in a serious accident, and they were unable to get any health information because he was over 18. So in that process of drawing up power of attorney documents, we also thought it was very prudent to have HIPAA releases and health proxies in place, just God forbid anything should happen. So that's one way to handle that transaction. But I think the other way is to be joint on the account, have a login, and be comfortable sharing the information and walking through account and checking it occasionally with your child and saying, hey, I see that you went to the grocery store here and maybe you spent $100 and some.
Yeah.
What was that on? Or maybe you went to Best Buy and saw it. But again, I think that conversation starts really early. You want to start being comfortable talking about money with your child at an early age,
sure,
so that they can understand that you're just there to help them and not kind of be a big brother or, looking at what they're doing.
And great teaching moments. I love that. Brian, you know what's so important too? Students setting up their account. What's really the best way for a student to start that account, to get it all set up?
Yeah, personally, I think the best way to do it is if you're available to come into a branch. And the reason I like that is, MSRs or FSRs, they can sit down with, or even branch managers, they can sit down with the student and really talk about some of those things that maybe even the student isn't comfortable asking their parents. And so they can walk through, again, that account and set it up and ask questions and really be open and have a good, honest dialogue. If you can't do that, you can do it online. Most institutions offer an online process, including Dork Financial. And, you can go through the entire process online. You can open the savings account, the checking account. You can fund that. We can even order the debit card and have it sent to you. All those ways are good, but the key is there to always have that open dialogue.
I love that. Any last-minute messages you have for students as they're venturing out to college or parents?
Yeah, I think it's a very exciting time. I can tell you, in my household, parents were sad. There were some tears had as we left. My son goes to St. Louis University, so as we left the university and kind of came home, there were some very sad moments. But, the relationship changes, I can tell you, in that first year. So, again, I think setting the tone early, having those honest conversations about how are we going to pay for college, who's responsible for what bills when you're in college, how are we going to monitor your spending, how are we going to provide funds to you if they're needed, is the student going to work? Have all that open dialogue up front, I think, is so vital to everyone involved, because then it makes it seem like you're being less nosy and more, proactive in the environment.
Well, we do appreciate you calling in and giving us this important information and advice for parents and students as they get ready to venture off on this new adventure in life. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it as well.
Of course, you are so welcome. And viewers, you can find more information in the hot link section of WNEM.com.